promise. Alright, so 1 foot pivots are really, really easy and simple, right? It's just you gotta start off small or shallow, and then you can start going bigger. So when it comes down to pivots, I'm gonna just peacock it so I can show you guys some pivots, okay? So whenever I'm pivoting, and this is without traveling, I'll do some traveling pivots too. I'm pivoting on my toe. And I'm dragging, I'm sliding my heel as I pivot. No matter which direction I go in, I'm dragging that heel, okay? Now, understand the mechanics of my other leg, the leg that's in the air. Let's take this leg in the air. As I do it, my other leg or my torso, it turns. I keep my core engaged, right? But as my leg kind of helps jerk my body, my lower body into that direction, right? So as I swing my bum at you, right? This leg is doing some of the work, in order for me to make that happen. Boom. All right. So now, even going the other way, I'm swinging that heel or that foot. I'm here with that foot, right? And I usually just let this other leg follow. So now when you're doing pivots, I'm not asking you to raise it up that high. You want to be where you're secure. If anything, just a little bit and put it back down. Again, I'm dragging my foot. Just a little bit, put it back down. I'm dragging the heel of my other foot, all right? Just a little bit, put it back down. From here, and this is just working on the inside, your inside wheels, okay? But if you do it here, put it down, other side, put it down, other side, put it down, other side, put it down. That's how you work out that inside pivot. Inside pivot is really good for moves when you're going around and you pivot around that way, okay? Outside pivots, this is more advanced. I'm gonna use my foot and kick my other foot around, right? And this is one I use for like the sidewalk, and I'll show you guys that too. As I kick around, I step in front and I pivot around. Step in front, pivot around. The reason why I'm stepping in front instead of taking my foot and lifting it back is because once I land, if I put it back, I still got to transition to slide it back to move it around versus keeping my rhythm. So I just want to boom, and then as I step forward, boom, kick it around. Step forward, kick it around. So now, working with the pivots, my upper body plays a very big key. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's facing you guys most of the time as I pivot, right? The reason why my shoulders stay towards you guys, because I'm using that as a little jerk, right? So as I hit, I just want to move at the waist. Now I can do it with the upper body, but I can make my upper body do the same thing, right? But the difference is when I do that, it causes my momentum to continue to carry. So unless I can catch it, right, my body is still going to be rotating. So that's why you want to keep your upper body here to help stop you in that motion. So now, as you're skating and traveling while doing it, very important to understand, I'm not doing it 180. I'm not pivoting all the way around 180. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing 135, right? If you don't know metrics, or if you don't know what the degree is in 135, you and me, that's 0 degrees. If I face this way and turn around, I just did a 180, right? I just did a 180. If I turn back around, I just did another 180. That's a full 180. I'm going to go less than that degree. So if I pivot around, instead of me going 180, I'm pivoting diagonally. So it's a 90 plus 45. Okay? So right here, I'm going to go 45. You see that? Now if you did 90 from this position here, you're right here. Okay? So now that I'm at this angle instead of this angle, this is where I want to land. I know it's like, what? We out of school. Why we got to learn all this? I'm just trying to help you out. So as I come at you and I pivot, let's just say I'm going with my right foot and I'm pivoting out that way, like I'm swinging that to my inside wheels. My motion is no longer going to go towards you, it's going to go towards my counter right here. So if I pivot, boom, boom, right? And then I can straighten out later. That's the easiest way to turn without falling or tipping over. A lot of people who try to make that full 180-degree transition, it's hard to complete in the beginning. I can do it, a lot of people can do it, but you want to take your time with that. So it's always important to understand that 135 is very, very important when you're doing turns. Even if I'm just going to skate backwards, I'm going at 135, right? I can straighten out later. So now back to the pivot. So as I'm doing the pivot, as I'm traveling, this is the key. Very important. Hear me out. When I pivot, going forward to back, it's on my toe. When I go back to forward, and this is not anal, I can do it on my toe going back forward, right? There's no wrong way when it comes down to this, but there are better ways for better transitions. So I'm going to pivot instead of on my toe from back to forward like this. I want to pivot on my heel, right? I want to pivot on my heel. The reason why I want to pivot on my heel, I'll be honest, it's just like, it's physics. That's the reason why. I can tell you, but I don't feel like breaking all that down. If I pivot on my toe or my heel, it causes me to have, once I land, something in front to prevent me from falling forward, right? Because that's where my momentum is going. If I pivot around, my toe can catch me as I'm going forward. If I do it on my toe and pivot around, I'm already on my toe, so I have nothing established to catch me because my heel is not in front. If that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right? So now when I'm pivoting, the reason why I pivot on my toe is because now that I'm traveling back, I use my heel to catch me, right? I want my heel to catch me. You see that? Now, I'm not using my leg correctly just so that way I can emphasize what I'm doing with this foot that's on the ground. What I'm doing with my upper body, as I pivot, right? I use this to also protect my fall. Where I land, right? I want to make sure that my foot is behind in case I do slip backwards. I can take that foot and either hopefully catch it or help secure that fall. Right? Now this is very key to understand, guys. I've seen people do this and their foot is turned still and they end up falling and they end up breaking their ankle, right? Because their foot is turned like this and they fall and land. Like, you gotta land on your four wheels, or you gotta have your four wheels stationed where you can land on them if you do make that pivot. Boom. You wanna be able to put that foot down. Alright, vice versa. If I'm turning from back to forward, boom, boom, I'm ready to land that foot down to help cushion that stumble or that fall. So these are your pivots. Now, one of the moves that I use this pivot for, I go heel, 90, and then I go toe, 90. Heel, pivot, 90, toe, pivot, 90. Okay? I call it the sidewalk. You name it whatever you want to name it, but that's just what I coined it because I didn't see any names for it. But the foot that's leading is going to be on his heel, because it's almost like I'm going backwards. It's on his heel, and the foot that's going to switch is going to be on his toe, the one that's in the front, because I want to land on my heel. Okay? So in real time, you're here. Okay? Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. I need to turn on this AC. I'm tripping. I'm over here tripping. I'm in Florida. I know it's... Boy, I got 82 degrees up in here. Dude, I'm hot.